Edward James Corbett was a hunter with a heart. James Edward Corbett, more popularly remembered as Jim Corbett, was born in Nainital, Uttarakhand on 25th July 1875. His father was a postmaster and mother an influential quasi-real estate agent. Corbett grew up in the jungles of Uttarakhand and spent most of his childhood exploring the wilderness. Such experience and his exceptional observational skills guided him to become a hunter of man eating tigers and leopards. He was a British hunter, tracker, naturalist, and author who hunted a number of man eating tigers and leopards in India. He held the rank of colonel in the British Indian Army and was frequently called upon by the government of the United Province of Agra and Awadh, now the Indian states of Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand, to kill man eating tigers and leopards that were preying on people in the nearby villages of the Kumaon Garhwal regions. He authored Man Eaters of Kumaon, Jungle Lore, and many other books recounting his hunts and experiences, which enjoyed critical acclaim and commercial success. He became an avid photographer and spoke out for the need to protect India's wildlife from extermination. Corbett was born of British ancestry in the town of Nainital in the Kumaon of the Himalayas, now in the Indian state of Uttarakhand. He grew up in a large family of 16 children and was the eighth child of Christopher William Corbett and his wife Mary Jane. His parents had moved to Nainital in 1862 after Christopher Corbett had quit military service and been appointed the town's postmaster. In winters, the family used to move to the foothills where they owned a cottage named Arundale in the village now known as Kaladhungi. During his life, Corbett tracked and shot a number of leopards and tigers. About a dozen were well documented man eaters. Corbett provided estimates of human casualties in his books, including Man Eaters of Kumaon, The Man Eating Leopard of Rudraprayag, and The Temple Tiger and More Man Eaters of Kumaon. Calculating the total from these accounts, these big cats had killed more than 1,200 men, women, and children, according to Corbett. The Champavat man eater finds primary mention in his first book, Man Eaters of Kumaon. The deadly animal, later discovered to be a tigress, had instilled fear so deep in the hearts of the people of Kumaon in Uttarakhand that even basic sanitation in their village was lacking. The tigress reached Kumaon from Nepal as a full-fledged man-eater with a death count of 234 and rising. Corbett had hunted many tigers, but this was his first time killing a man-eater. After many days of tracking, he chanced upon the tigress while she was devouring her 436th and last prey, a 16-year-old girl. He wrote in his book, "The track of the tigress was clearly visible. On one side of it were great splashes of blood where the girl's head hung down, and on the other side the trail of her feet." Corbett spent 4 hours following the tigress but couldn't get a good shot. Soon he had lost daylight. The following day, along with the help of 298 villagers, Corbett killed the tigress with 3 gunshots. It was later discovered that her teeth were broken, forcing her to eat human flesh and thus confirming Corbett's theory that the species are not inherently man-eaters. This understanding of the difference and his ability to be both a hunter and conservation champion is what Corbett came to be known for. His love for nature and wildlife shone through as he strongly supported the All India Conference for the Preservation of Wildlife. He was specially fond of tigers and pulled all strings possible to create a national reserve for endangered Bengal tigers. The man who once held the rank of a colonel in the British Indian Army, Jim Corbett, is today revered as an author and, more importantly, as the one who India's oldest national park is named after. But James Edward Corbett's tryst with wildlife did not begin as that of a conservationist. He was once one of the most sought after hunters in the country. Before he turned 19, he quit school and found employment with the Bengal Northwestern Railway and later as a contractor of transshipment goods. Corbett developed a fascination for forests and wildlife at a very early age. With time, he turned into a good tracker and hunter. In fact, he used to be summoned quite often by the government of United Province to kill man-eating tigers and leopards. History has it that he had never killed any big cats without confirming that it had harmed a human. Over the years, Corbett's love for animals translated into wildlife photography. Corbett bought his first camera in the late 1920s and, inspired by his friend Frederick Walter Champion, started to record tigers on cinefilm. Although he had an intimate knowledge of the jungle, it was a demanding task to obtain good pictures as the animals were exceedingly shy. Besides, he also used to lecture school children on the country's natural heritage, forests, and wildlife. Gradually, Corbett took to spearheading the movement for animal conservation. He promoted the foundation of the Association for the Preservation of Game in the United Province and the All India Conference for Preservation of Wildlife. Using his influence over the provincial government, Corbett played a key role in establishing India's first national park, Haley, as a national reserve for the endangered Bengal tiger. In 1957, the park was renamed Jim Corbett National Park in his honor. In November 1947, Corbett and his sister left for Kenya after selling their house in Kumaon. The house was later turned into the Jim Corbett Museum, which attracts a lot of tourists today. He continued to write and sound the alarm about declining number of wild cats and other wildlife. Corbett was at the treetops, a hut built on the branches of a giant ficus tree, as the bodyguard of Princess Elizabeth when she stayed here on 5th and 6th February 1952. That night, her father, King George VI, died and Elizabeth ascended to the throne. Corbett wrote in the hotel's visitors' register, "For the first time in the history of the world, a young girl climbed into a tree one day, a princess, and after having what she described as a most thrilling experience, she climbed down from the tree the next day, a queen. God bless her." Corbett died of a heart attack a few days after he finished his sixth book, Treetops, and was buried at St. Peter's Anglican Church in Nyeri. His memories were kept intact in the form of the meeting place Moti House, which Corbett had built for his friend Moti Singh, and the Corbett Wall, a long wall approximately 7.2 kilometers, built around the village to protect crops from wild animals. Man Eaters of Kumaon was a great success in India, the United Kingdom, and the United States, the first edition of the American Book of the Month Club being 250,000 copies. It was later translated into 27 languages. Corbett's fourth book, Jungle Lore, is considered his autobiography. On April 19, 1955, Jim Corbett died of heart attack after finishing his sixth book, Treetops. In 1968, One of the five remaining subspecies of tigers were named after him as Panthera tigris corbetti or Corbett's tiger. His contribution to wildlife and nature was acknowledged when 2 years after his death in 1955, India's first national park was renamed after him. Today, Jim Corbett National Park is a premier spot for sighting of big cats. In Man-Eaters of Kumaun, Corbett wrote, "A tiger is a large-hearted gentleman with boundless courage. When he is exterminated, as exterminated he will be unless public opinion rallies to his support. India will be the poorer by having lost the finest of her fauna." Today, those words couldn't be truer.